Updating firmware and loading contacts into the latest version of the MD9600 dual band DMR radio from TYT, and it's starting now. Hey guys, good afternoon. Welcome to Ham Radio 2.0. My name's Jason. I'm KC5HWB. If this is your first time to join us, please click on the subscribe button below and keep up with all the videos that we post on this channel for everything that's new in amateur radio. This has been a popular... This is probably... You know, I hesitate to say this is the most popular dual-band DMR radio out there right now. It's basically only one of two. There's the TYT 9600, which a Redivus RT90 is the exact same radio. They look the same. They'll even take the same code plug. Redivus RT90, TYT MD9600, but then Connect Systems makes their CS800D. And those are basically the only two DMR radios on the market at the time of this recording. There's 3 new ones coming that I know of. So we'll see what 2019 brings. But as of the time of this recording, I would say this one's probably the most popular because of the larger display. But the one good thing that the CS800D has is that it has a separatable face, and you can remote mount the face. This one does not have that option. So, be that as it were. So, about February of 2019, TYT released new firmware for their radios, and they are locked to 150 megahertz on VHF and 450 megahertz on UHF. Check out this video right here for the TYT MD UV380 that I did about how to unlock that radio. With this radio, they tell me that, and I'm going to show you this here in a little bit, they tell me that the way to unlock it is to power it off and hold down the P1 and P2 buttons right here and power it on. That doesn't work. I couldn't get that to work. But after updating the firmware in this radio, which again, I'm about to show you that, after updating the firmware in this radio, it didn't lock my existing code plug that was already in it. So you can always downgrade firmware. The latest firmware for the 9600 right now is version 6.03, and you can downgrade. This was on 5.05 before I upgraded it here just a minute ago. But you can downgrade your firmware, and it'll take care of the locked feature. But in order to keep up with latest updates, especially... hopefully they're going to upgrade the contact list from 100,000 to something else now. There's a couple of radios out there right now that have a 200,000 count contact list. And of course, there's probably more memory in this than there is in a little handheld. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I've sent a question to TYT to ask them, hey, when can we expect a bigger contact list update for all of the radios, really, not just the MD9600, but for all of them. Waiting on a reply to that. But this one we're gonna load the firmware into it, which is very simple, and then I'm gonna attempt to load contacts into it, which is a little bit tricky. One of the stupid things that they did, and this isn't actually TYT. This is the company that makes the radio. That's why the TYT MD9600 and the Redivus RT90 they're the exact same radio because they're made by a third party in China. And Connect Systems did this a while back too. You have to have Microsoft Excel installed on your computer in order to load the CSV file into the radio. I run OpenOffice on most of my computers. I do have Microsoft Excel. It's on my Microsoft Surface tablet. But I didn't have it on this computer here, so I had to load it real quick. And then I'm about to go through and show you how you can go to radioid.net, download the CSV file. It's got at the time of this recording, there's about 130,000 worldwide DMR subscriber IDs in that file. So you're going to have to cut it down a bit because right now this only holds 100,000 contacts. So once they upgrade it to 150 or maybe hopefully 200, then you just load the whole thing in there and just go with it. But I'm going to cut mine down to just North America. We're going to have Canada and USA, United States. And after cutting it down to just those folks, there's only it's like half of them. It's like 64,000 contacts in Canada and the United States. And then the other 65 some odd thousand are in other parts of the world. So cut it down however you want to. If you're in the United States, just put the United States in. If you're in North America, do what I did. If you're overseas somewhere, if you're in Europe or European Union, Asia, cut it down to your country and the countries you talk to, and however you want to do it, until such time as they update the firmware. But we're going to go through all that, so stay tuned. Okay, so I'm going to take the latest firmware at the time of this recording, which is 6.03, and I'm going to put the radio into programming mode real quick. Okay, so one thing to note should be using the power button does not work. I had to power off the power supply and hold down this key, this orange key. Their instructions say it's a red key. It's not, it's orange. And the P1 key at the same time. And while holding both of those buttons down, I powered on the power supply, and now we're in programming mode. So now I'm going to come over here and run their upgrade download firmware. Let's see. This one right here, upgrade download. And I'm going to open file of upgrade and go find 6.03 CSV version. MD9600 CSV 6.03 bin. So the difference between, and this is not a GPS version of the 9600, so I'm not going to worry about this right now. This is a 9600 GPS record 9600 CSV GPS. Okay, so the difference between REC and CSV, REC does a voice recording feature, and CSV gives you the 100,000 contacts. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to want the CSV file. Just like that. And then you'll notice the screen right now is still flashing. It's still in what's called programming or DFU mode. And I'm going to hit here on the screen, download file of upgrade. And you'll see the status bar at the top of the screen start to run. See how long this takes. I really don't know. Previous to loading 6.03 onto this 9600, it had 5.005 on it. And I'm pretty sure that's the firmware that this specific model came with. And status bar's moving at a fairly decent rate. I just backed up. Don't power off when you're doing this. For whatever you do, do not power off your radio or disconnect your power supply or something like that. You can really break something trying to do firmware upgrades and losing power in the middle of it. Okay, there we go. The status bar never got to the end. It kind of stopped in the middle, but then I get a message here saying download upgrade file successful. I click OK. The radio, you'll notice, is still in DFU mode, so I'm just going to power off my power supply. There we go. And then I'm going to power it back on normally. It looks like it came up to the right boot. And there on the screen you can see it's version 6.03. So there we go. Now, on 6.03 is the FCC version that they have the frequencies locked down. So here's how you unlock that. Because it's going to be locked. VHF is locked to 150 megahertz, and UHF is locked to 450 megahertz. No matter what your code plug is written in. Let's test that real quick. If I go in here to my previously loaded code plug that I have and go to enter, I'm going to go to Utilities, Program Radio, wants a password. The password is 8 number 9s in a row. That's the default password. Sometimes I'll get people telling me that the password is not either they don't have to use a password or it's something else. I don't know. Okay, so this one looks like it's actually correct. Yeah, these are correct. So if you go in here to your program radio to a previously programmed channel and these frequencies on UHF say 450.0000, that means you've locked. That means it's locked to the FCC standard. So all you do to power that on, or to get rid of it, I should say, power your radio off. Hold down P1 and P2. These two buttons right here. Hold down P1 and P2 while powering on. You may have to do this one from the, yeah. You're going to have to do that one from the, okay, so let's power the radio on. I'm going to shut down the power supply. Hold down P1 and P2. Oops. And power on the power supply. That did not work. Okay, just rebooted it and it's fine. Let's go back in here and make sure that's right. P1 and P2 is the instructions I got directly from TYT. Obviously, that's not, oops. It's still right. Okay. So, it's supposed to be these two buttons right here that you hold down and while you power the radio on to unlock it. And then you only have to do it once. And then it's just unlocked from there on out. But that did not work. This part right here is a little convoluted. It's not as easy, my experience has been, it's not as easy to write contacts to the 9600 as it is to the HT versions that TYT makes. So, what we've got here is, this is the code plug that I loaded. And you can go, and the steps are all the same. You can go to here, go to the right contacts menu. This radio is brand new. Okay, this is not the 9600 that I have on my shack sitting right over there on my external antenna. This is a brand new radio. I wanted to show how to update the firmware, which we just did. And then if we go here, and what I did was I read the contacts. The best way to do it is read the contacts in the radio, export it to a CSV file. And again, you have to have Excel installed. I had to stop the video for a little bit and do that. I actually messed with this. This is actually the day after I recorded the part that you just watched because I messed with it a little bit to make sure I got all my steps in a row. Read the radio, write it to an Excel file. You have to have Microsoft Excel installed, and it opens up, and it opened it up, but it kept opening it up to a blank file because it was a brand new radio, and it didn't have any contacts written to the contacts memory. There it goes. It's done now. Okay. So if I go here and I go export, I'm going to do user 2 is the one I used yesterday. User 3. Nope. 3. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Save that. Now you get this prompting thing And I don't know what the heck this means. What I did was, well, I'll get to that. Okay, so prompting, okay. And now if we go over here, downloads. I've got it in the downloads folder just for the heck of it because I'm going to show you where to get the file here in a minute. Okay, now see, that worked. Okay, so yesterday when I did an export and it said prompting, I clicked OK and opened the file. It was a blank file. It's a 1 KB sized file because it's a brand new radio. It didn't have anything in it. Now this one, Microsoft Excel, has all this stuff in it. Okay, great. And that doesn't even have, that's kind of strange. Okay, so what I did was, so there's a couple of different places to get the file downloads. Okay, what I did is I go to radioid.net, go to database, and go to database dump files here, and then download users.csv. Okay, users.csv file, which is this file right, nope, here, right there. So I open up that file, locked for editing, read-only is fine, whatever. Okay, so open up that file, and this is what it dumped, and then it put this extra column in here. Okay, and again, there's about 130,000 files in this, 130,000 contacts in this file. I took out everything except Canada and the USA, made it like 30, I don't remember, no, not 30, 60, 63,000, I think. Come on. There's probably a quick key in Excel to like just say go to the end of the file, but I don't know what it is. I don't know Excel well enough to know that. 63,020. So that's how many are in here. I went ahead and deleted. So this is the users.csv file that I downloaded. So I deleted it, and I tried to write it to the radio, and it would not write. It said there was some kind of header malfunction, blah, 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 blah. Well, turns out what happened was, yeah, see, this is the 9600 read, 1 kilobyte. See that? It's 1 kilobyte. That's why. So what I did was I opened up my TYT MD 2017 file, and I took this top row named radio ID, call sign, name, nickname, city, state, and country, just this one row, pasted it into the user CSV file that I just downloaded because it's a fresh file with all the contacts, and then I wrote it into the radio, and it worked. Okay, and that's the one, and now you just saw this is the file, user 3 here is what I just exported, and it should have 63,020 contacts also. Actually, it has more than that. Well, 21 because I added the line at the top. So, and then it wrote to the radio. So if I go here, so I'm going to close that, go back here. If you go to program, program write context, and if you go to import, it's going to ask you which file to open. I'm just going to import this same file back that I just did. Import. And it does that right there. So I let this sit here for about 5 hours yesterday, and it never changed because I didn't know. I mean, prompting, what does that mean? It comes up prompting, which the word prompting makes you think that it's prompting the radio, it's doing something, but it's got this OK button that you can click right now. You would think if it was reading something or prompting the radio and it wasn't ready yet, then the OK button would be grayed out. I don't know. I know what prompting means, but the OK button is there. I let it sit there for 5 hours yesterday. It didn't change. And I wrote it, and it worked fine. Now I'm going to click OK. It's been there for, what, a minute? And I'm going to go write. And writing data to radio, 1%, 2%. There we go, 5%. So, I mean, since there's 63,000 contacts, it's going to take time to write data to the radio, which you can see the screen. It says PC program at the top line there. So, And that, I think it took like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. It wasn't too terribly long, but it wasn't instant again either. So, and then it comes up and it should have all the stuff in it that you want to see, name, call sign, location, on the big screen. And that's how you do it. So the prompting thing always confused me, because it says prompting, but you can click OK immediately. So does it immediate? So it should say successful at the top. Click OK and you're done. You just keep moving on. But I wanted to wait and see if it ever changed. And after 5 hours, it didn't change. So I'm like, it didn't even take 5 hours to write it into the radio. It didn't even take 5 minutes to write it in radio. It took like 3, maybe 4 minutes to write it into the radio. So there's no way it took 5 hours to download, to cue the memory in the radio and get it ready to write. So that is that. That is writing the newest firmware as of the time of this recording, and contacts to the MD9600 dual band DMR radio from TYT. This is, once again, the same radio as the Retevis RT90. So I could take my contacts file and send it to you. Go back and forth like that. If you never know the format, one thing I was disappointed with this was that when I read the fresh radio and tried to export my contacts, which it didn't have any because it was brand new, it exported a completely blank spreadsheet, and it didn't even put the headers at the top. And then when I tried to download the users.csv from radioid.net and write it directly into the radio, it gave me an error because it didn't know what to do with the headers at the top. So I had to put my header from my handheld unit into the file and then write it into the radio, and it worked. So I don't know why it wouldn't export it with those headers if it's looking for it to import with those headers. I mean, I even exported this after I wrote it. You saw it, that user3 file was exported. There were no headers at the top. I don't know. So, long story short, if you get errors when trying to write the user.csv file, just make sure the headers are correct. Take a screenshot of that last part in the video. That's what it's looking for. So there you go. So thanks for watching, guys. It's been fun. Gonna see some more videos upcoming, and this video should air like the week before Dayton, and hope to see some of you at the Dayton Hamvention 2019. I'll be at the Flex Radio dinner on Friday night. I'll be at the Bob Greenberg from R-Finder, W2CYK, and myself, we set up a DMR dinner for Friday night. We've done that the last 2 years. Really fun time. And I think I'm going to a YouTubers meeting on Saturday. So, hope to see some of you there. Come by the Bridgecom table, 1104 and 5, I think, booth numbers. Come by the table, say hello. Catch us live stream Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Dayton time. 73. Catch you next time.